I never thought I'd end up in this much debt. I thought I was paying on the loans and found out it was a scam. I did it for 3 years. Hi, my name is Dominique, and I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I am 34 years old.
And what do you do for a living up in New York?
I am a singer-actor, a teacher's assistant, and a banquet server.
And how much do you make a year living in New York right now?
Last year, it was about $30,000.
Okay, what's the breakdown between different jobs?
So acting can sometimes vary. Last year was probably about $5,000. My banquet serving is probably like $15,000, and then my teaching assistant job was $35,000, but now I'm back to making an hourly wage. So I'm guessing this year I may make about $40,000.
Okay, what's your hourly rate for the teacher assistant?
$20,000. It was $23,000 when I was at a preschool. I was at a preschool from February until last September, but I was laid off in September. So then I had to get another job. So I went from making a salary to now making $20 an hour. I just started that new job like this past.
And how many hours a week are you going to get out of that?
They're taking out my lunch break. So it's going to be more like 32 hours. And now I'm also working at I work at 3 catering companies. And the one that I just got hired at, that one is seeming like I'm going to be getting like 21 hours a week. However, there are 4 months out of the year where catering is really slow. January, February, usually July and August as well is pretty slow, which is surprising, but it is.
Okay, and that's how you made $15K last year as a server.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so if you're making 20, and what are you getting paid an hour there?
It varies between 21 to 25.
So you should make another 15-ish from serving, and then as a teaching assistant, I mean, that's another 30 to 35 probably at $20 an hour. Is that out during the summer?
Yes. So when I had a salary this year, whenever they were on break, I was getting paid. But now that I'm on hourly, I'm not getting paid for breaks. So like there's a day off on Monday, I'm not getting paid.
Okay, so it's not a full 12 months you're getting that. It's probably remove summer break. It's probably 3 months at least you're not getting between holiday breaks, spring break, stuff of that nature, if I had to guess. So.
Last year, I was mostly doing catering. I wasn't a teacher, a 6th grade teacher for like 5 weeks at our school in the Bronx. And then I ended up just doing catering most of the year. And then I went on a national tour, and that paid pretty well. That's probably where most of the $5,000 from the singing acting came from, was from the tour. And then I just did catering until the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it this year, I mean, on an annual basis, with your teaching assistant job should bring you 25-ish, depending on how much you get in 15 from that, from the serving. So about 40 from that, and then acting is sharing the top on that, depending on how much you make there. But okay, that is probably not the easiest thing in the world to live off of up in Brooklyn than making $40,000 a year.
No, I mean, I've made it work mainly because I don't do anything. Like I literally stay at home or go to work, and I take walks, and every now and then you can see I'm sure on my bank statement, I'll go to the bodega and well, other than that, like I really don't spend much money. And my rent is only $700 because I have 3 roommates, and I've always had multiple roommates since I lived here. So my rent has never been more than $9-10 a month. And that was only when I was teaching. So I went from paying $650 for rent, then I paid $575, then I paid $910, and now I'm paying $700, and that includes utilities.
Okay, cheap rent, which is good. Let's dive into your current financial situation then. So how would you kind of rate your current situation on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say 2 or 3.
At least you're honest. The first part of fixing a problem is identifying there is a problem. And looking at your situation, there's definitely a problem. And so going through the debts, I see personal loans, $7,300, student loans, $57,860, credit cards, $3,175, graduate school, $3,781, a doctor bill, $1,627, and private student loans, $5,176. So we have total debts of $78,926. Then on the assets, retirement accounts, $873, savings, $600, which puts your net worth at negative $77,453. Did I miss anything?
That's accurate.
Have you ever calculated net worth before?
Nope, and not until now. I always known I've been in the negative. I mean, I've been in the negative since I graduated college, so.
What does that number say to you?
I mean, I've been working on it because it actually was more than 80 last year. I've been working on it. And I haven't taken out any debt since that last personal loan in 2022.
Can I give you a piece of advice? don't take out any more debt anytime soon. Don't put it on the table. Credit cards, student loans, personal loans, off the table. So what have you been doing? Because you sent me, I guess, one note, I think, about some of this debt. But you said this was $80,000 and it's gone down. What have you been doing in the last 12 months then to try to fix this?
So I enrolled in the National Debt Relief Program last July. It was either that or file bankruptcy. Like, I thought about filing bankruptcy, but then I found out you have to have money to do that, or you have to have assets, and I have none. So I researched and I found the National Debt Relief Program. It's definitely not easy being in that program because they have to take out a certain amount every month, and it's a lot. They're taking out $400 a month basically every month, and they have now for a year. But they have settled 5 out of my 7 creditors in a year, and they have settled them for about 48 to 50%, every one of them. It's an escrow account. So you're paying, the money that you're paying them is going into an escrow account. And then they use that account to pay the fees once they settle. And then they have a timeline as to how you're going to pay off the creditor once they've settled it. So there's only 2 that they haven't settled. But it's not easy having that much money coming out of my account every month. But if you're really in dire straits, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm by myself. I'm a single person. I'm trying to do everything on my own. I never thought I'd end up in this much debt, but almost everything that I had in debt most of it was education. The $57,000 started out as $30,000. When I graduated, it was $30,000. But it's increased because it's been 11 years since I graduated college. And I actually did try to pay on the loans. I thought I was paying on the loans and found out it was a scam. I did it for 3 years. And I was paying $50 a month. I thought that I was paying on my debt, and I wasn't paying anything. So then that set me back. And then I also took out a $9,000 loan to go to American Musical Dramatic Academy. I did that in 2016. And the reason I did it was because I got a $25,000 scholarship to go based off of my audition. So I thought, I'm going to move to New York to pursue acting, so I might as well get the best training that I can get. I saw it as an investment. And I actually kept up with that private loan for years, and I paid it on time. I mean, the funny thing is I pay my bills on time, and I think that's part of the problem. Because I feel like they were like, oh, you pay this bill on time? Okay, sure, you can have this loan. Sure, you can have this credit card. Sure, you can have this because you pay yourself on time. I didn't stop paying my bills until, in order to get in the National Debt Relief Program, when you're in it, you have to stop paying everything. So I had to stop paying everything until it went to collections. But
that's a lot. Okay, so in the National Debt Relief Program, it looks like right now you have $15,000 left in that with personal loan, credit card, and the private student loans.
Right, and it started at 23.
Okay, so they've settled some of it, but then they still have a little bit to go on that. Okay. And then, I guess that goes to show, student loans, they can't finagle that. You're not going to settle on student loans. The doctor bill, is that after you enrolled that occur?
Yeah, so that came in December, and I think it happened because I have been going back between teaching full-time and doing customer service for like years. And so I think what happened was I had Medicaid, and then I got my job's insurance as a teacher. Then I went back to Medicaid and then did it multiple times. And I think that my primary care didn't keep up with the changes. So then it just got charged. And they didn't charge me. Like, it was from 2022 all the way up until 2023. I was like, why did y'all wait so long to send me the bill? But I've been paying on it because originally it was $2,500, and it was $2,500 in December. So I've been paying it off, but it's a lot.
Yeah, with this is a lot of debt. Obviously, majority of it's not in the National Debt Relief Program that you're in because it's grad school, $62,000 of it. So, but maybe that will speed up. Sounds like it speed up at least some of the debt payoff. It also goes to show, even if you'd done the bankruptcy route, student loans still aren't bankruptable for the most part. So it wouldn't have done anything really for you. Besides that, bankruptcy is a extreme action, and I wouldn't suggest it for most people because it can do a lot of things that are not good for your situation. But maybe there are some instances that would make sense, but I'm typically pro finding other ways and avenues to get out of debt because a lot of it has to do with changing some habits and financial spending here, which I guess from your main non-school debt is the credit cards, $3,000, the personal loan for $7,000. The others seem to be student loans and the doctor's bill. That's why it's important to start making some drastic changes and improvements to your current situation today, because the only way to do that is start setting stuff up today, and small habits, small changes today are going to pay off tenfold by the time you're 60. And looking at your current situation, you're making some improvements on some of the debt. Still a lot that's still out there, but we have to, obviously, retirement and savings are big things that we have to figure out once we get the debt situation figured out so that you can build up a nest egg and have money to do things, whether it's buying a house, buying a car, moving, traveling, whatever it might be. Money, it takes money to live, and a lot of things are expensive. So let's talk about your financial goals then. So what are your say 1 to 2 year financial goals short term, and then what are your long term 10+ year financial?
So in 2 to 3 years, I want to be done with the National Debt Relief Program, and I'm scheduled to be done by 2027, but I think it might be a little sooner than that, more than likely, because it wasn't that much.
Can you pay into it faster? Can you pay into it faster versus the $400 to help speed it up?
But then that doctor bill came. So now I've been putting, I just started listening to Dave Ramsey this year, like a few months ago, and I just started budgeting. That's what I sent you. I would like to put more, but then I wanted to do the smallest debt, and I also wanted to put money in my savings. I had $1,000 in my savings like a month ago, and you probably can see that. But then I took out $400 to cover the rent because I had lost my job unexpectedly. But I got another job. But the problem with education is it takes 2 to 3 weeks for your background check to clear in New York. But I did catering jobs. So I took out $400 from that. And then after I got my savings together, I started paying on the medical bill. And I was trying to get that paid off because it was the smallest debt I had. And then I would like to put more towards the National Debt Relief so I can pay it off a little quicker.
Okay, good. And you sound like you're taking actual steps about learning about finances. I'm a big fan of Dave. Some people don't like Dave. Some people will love Dave. Dave is who started me on my personal finance journey when I was junior, I think in high school or senior year of high school. And that's where I learned about investing, about budgeting. And I've always been a fan of his since then. I don't agree with 100% of the things he says, but I think for the average, people in debt, he's a phenomenal resource to learn from. And if you spend less money than you make, then that's how you pay off debt and can start building wealth. So, okay. So I think that's good to figure out. How do you speed up the debt payoff program faster than 2 to 3 years? If they're negotiating your debt down and helping you pay it off, that's really help you pay it off faster. So, okay. What do you think your motivation is to start changing your financial situation? Why? Like what flipped in you?
The last couple of years have just got really bad. When I had just the private loan, my student loans, and then the 3 credit cards, I was managing those payments for years. But then I ended up having setbacks with education. So I got into education as a full-time teacher to get out of debt. And then I got in significantly more debt because in order to be a full-time teacher, I had to go back to graduate school. And I basically have a degree, but I don't. So I'm 5 credits short of a master's degree in elementary education. So the first year of teaching, I got my scholarship because I finished out the school year in the 2020-21 school year. 2021-2022, I went from one school to another school, and it was just, I had been through 3 schools in a year and a half, and I was just not handling the stress very well. Like I said, I'm doing everything on my own, and I don't have a support system, so it just is like every time I'm getting a lot of anxiety and stress, I don't know how to handle it. And so like what happened at work, I couldn't do it anymore mentally, and so I quit. But me quitting were consequences because I ended up owing $6,000 because I didn't get the scholarship. But I had already put $4,000 a year twice towards my tuition. So I spent $8,000 and then I ended up owing $10,000 to the graduate school because the following year I tried again to finish my degree. I got a job as a 6th grade math teacher at a school in the Bronx. And then I was asked to teach outside of my certification. And my professor was like, "You're not allowed to do that." My assistant principal told me to lie and say that I was teaching 6th grade even though I was teaching 7th. So I resigned after 5 weeks. When I say it's been such an emotional roller coaster this last few years, and I'm just like, I had a plan. I've always had a plan, but sometimes the plan just doesn't always go the way I intended it to go. My goal was to teach for 3 to 5 years and then get out of debt full time because it's the only thing I'm qualified to do that's going to pay me a salary. And I wish I could handle it. Like I've tried. I mean, just this year, I did a teacher's assistant. I took my test. It's a 100-question test. I got my certification to be a teacher's assistant, making a salary. And then in September, she lays me off. I'm just like, I don't know.
Life has its roller coasters, but if you keep pushing forward, I know it's definitely been a roller coaster and it's frustrating and can get down on yourself because you have a lot of things that have come across in your path that aren't great or have been just it's objects in the way. And I think you just have to keep pushing forward. And whether it's continuing to find a new teaching role, whether it's changing career paths, as long as you keep pushing forward and making changes and trying, you have had the energy, you have the excitement to want to change and do things. It's more so, I mean, you're going to have obstacles and roadblocks in your way, no matter it's this career path or different career paths. So you just have to keep pushing forward and I know you'll be able to get there. Is there a path for finding a new full-time teaching job, or is right now, like, are you looking for other jobs right now? You said this one's paying you about 30 hours a week. Is there a path, or are you looking for other full-time jobs? Obviously, you just got this past week, but what's your, I guess, your current game plan with this current role since it's only part-time?
I mean, I actually was crunching the numbers this weekend, and I'm a little bit frustrated because I'm like, this is no money. Because I didn't know they were going to be taking out my lunch break. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really low. And most of the time that I'm not getting 5 days, I'm getting 4 days because there's always a reason in New York State why the kids are out. They get out for a lot of different days that you don't get in the South. But I was thinking about that as well. I was like, do I need to consider doing another applying? Because I'm like, I need a salary, really. If you're going to work in schools, you need a salary because they're out of school too often and you just are not getting it. Now, the Tribeca rooftop, the catering job, I mean, they're giving me 27 hours a week after next. So basically, I'm working that job till 1 o'clock, to 11, 12 o'clock, and then going to work at 8 in the morning. But that's almost what I feel like I have to do for the next few years in order to get out of debt.
If it's not going to help you pay the bills, if it's not going to help you get out of debt, then it's just going to keep you in the same limbo spot for the next 5, 10 years as this debt just either sits there or doesn't make any progress. And I don't think that's what you want to be. So interim solution, since you lost your job and you need some income coming in, but I don't think it doesn't sound like it's going to be the end-all be-all solution to get you where you want to go. I want to ask you about your current budgeting process then. So you said you started listening to Dave, started budgeting. What does your budgeting process look like right now?
So I started using the Every Dollar app in, I think it was May. And then June, I was not very good with it. May, I was pretty good with it. July, August, September, October, I've been very consistent. One of the things I noticed with my budget is that I struggle with, I think for me, stress is how food is what I'm going to relieve my stress. I'm not a shopper, but food is a big thing. And I know that I thought about maybe leaving my debit card at home. I've tried that. But now I'm starting to have to pay with my card to pay for my subway pass. It used to be you pay for a Metro card, but they're starting to phase that out by the end of the year. So now every time I use to pay for the subway, I'm tapping my debit card. I really need to tap. I noticed that when I started budgeting, I just was like, dang, I didn't know how much I was spending on food. Like, I had no idea.
Food is always one that gets people because eating out or there's little sandwiches, it doesn't seem like much each day, but when you do it over and over again, it adds up quickly.
Ironically, this month was better than last month, but it still wasn't great.
Well, I'm glad you're using an app. I'm glad you're using Every Dollar. I use one called Copilot, but Every Dollar, Monarch, Money, you need a budget. I mean, all these have the different tools that you need to just see. You need to be able to see and categorize transactions. And to your point, you didn't know how much money you're spending on food. If you don't add it up, you never know how much money you're spending on food, and it can be sickening at times. So I'm glad you're doing that. And now it just comes down to, okay, how do you set that budget up in a way that you can succeed with? Is it cutting down a glass a month? I think you spend $520 or something on eating out. Maybe next month you shoot for $475. Then the following month, $460. Then $450. Or like knocking down by $25 or $50 a month to get to a spot where you want to go. If your goal is like, okay, $300 in eating out, maybe don't go from $500 to $300 immediately. Go from $500 down to $475 or $500 down to $450. And go in small increments over time and do that over 3 or 4 months. You won't notice it changes much. Technical difficulties, that's okay. Okay, I think it's working out. I think that's one thing you need to do is just figure out what is your gradual path down from 500 down to 300 down to whatever that goal is. But I'm glad you're using a budget now. Most people don't use a budget. Most people don't track their expenses. That at least sees you or shows you areas you need to cut back on. So kudos to you for doing that. On that, let's kind of look through your current budget that you sent over then. So we have income of about $28.93 last month, with your rent at $700, internet $25, phone and FedEx printing $136. What is the FedEx printing?
FedEx is so whenever I need to print something, I just go to FedEx. I had a printer, but the ink keeps drying out, and I just started going there.
Most at your phone.
Now my phone is $80. I accidentally added something to it. But so it ended up being like $40 extra last month. But normally it's between $80 to $90 a month.
Okay. And then on transportation, we have $137 on Metro Card, $28 on Metro North, and then $160 on Uber. Groceries $196, so total necessities $13.83. Subscriptions $24, eating out $520, laundry $33, personal care $100, shopping $11, cleaners $41, musical theater course $150. So your total fund money is about $881. Total living expenses $2,264, and then the $496 is your National Debt Relief Program payment, correct?
$396, yes.
Oh, $396, okay. And then I guess your $100 to your doctor bill too.
Yeah.
Okay, so $496 total between all of those. So Yeah, you're spending basically everything you have. That's $2,760. So total expenses, you're right at basically including your debt payments, how much money you're bringing in right now. And so I guess your solutions to that are, one, more income or lower expenses. I think the expenses on here you have aren't outrageous. Besides the eating out, I think it's definitely one that you can work on. I know in New York City, you obviously need transportation, Ubers. Maybe you can get that down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't usually that was the thing. I didn't realize it was supposed to be like your monthly budget every month. I just posted every single thing that I did in September. But Ubers usually is either nothing or like maybe 50 at the most. But for some reason, I ended up taking 3 Ubers. But also that musical theater course was a one-time expense as well.
Okay, that's one time too? Okay. So then you'll have a little bit of wiggle room. If Ubers were half as much, $80, you have a little wiggle room, a couple $100 a month that can be going towards these things, I guess. But obviously, I mean, two other things, or the other thing is more income, which is if you finding a new full-time teaching role that pays your salary, that is higher pay, then that will obviously help. And the new teaching job will help a lot if you can get some more hours there. More hours, or I guess a job that's paying you a higher salary and full-time work, so you get that consistent income every single month versus only when school's in session. That will definitely help you. I think you're doing a good job that you're hustling and you have a part-time server job on the side too to help bring in additional income. And you're budgeting, which is great. You need a budget to track your expenses and run through everything. So let's look at your last month's statement and see where some of this money went, because kind of laid it out there, you're already put on the spreadsheet, but we do have a lot of these are small transactions for $9, $8, $1, $2, and some of these are Subway, some of these are little delis, some of these are Chick-fil-A, Target for $14, Gourmet, Cozy Gourmet for $6, another grocery store deli on here, McDonald's. So I think that's obviously, I think is one big area is the eating out is one thing that adds up. $520 for one person is a pretty sizable chunk of eating out. You got Ubers on here. You got what is 32 bar cut? Is that the class?
Musical theater course.
But there's not one giant transaction, just all small little transactions here.
They all add up, and I didn't realize how much they add up. So the Target, usually if I've gone to Target, is for groceries. I don't usually go for anything other than that. Oh, groceries or toiletries. But the little transactions from the delis, that's definitely eating.
Yeah, there's a lot. A couple of times a day, every day, for a couple of dollars each time. So besides that, I don't see anything that's crazy. Just those add up. So we had 9 pages worth of transactions, and it's all just small little $2 to $10 transactions, basically. Besides the Ubers that we talked about already, Target for $45, but everything else is just small little transactions. So I think you've done a good job so far with, hey, we're saying no more debt, no more credit cards. I think continue on that path. Don't open up credit cards. It's going to cause you to spend money you don't have. You're budgeting, which is great. Continue to do that. Continue to fine-tune that budget and get it in the spot where that can help you expedite the debt payoff part. I think no more classes for $150 a month. No more eating out for $500. Cutting that stuff down. Cut eating out to $400. You don't have that music class. That's $250 a month that can be going towards paying down debt even faster, which will help speed up things drastically, whether it's going towards the debt payoff group that you're working with, or it's attacking the doctor bill. The doctor bill will probably come first in the grad school, I would say, but that's how I'd probably do it. But Dave Ramsey teaches the Stonewall method. You're doing the national debt relief. I don't know how I would if I would attack. I guess I would need to know the interest rates on the doctor's bill. I would assume that's probably 0% right now, the doctor's bill, or is there?
The doctor bill didn't have any interest. It doesn't even have a due date, which is weird to me. I thought all doctor bills have a date.
Yeah, I would assume at some point it would kick in, but I'm not sure. And then what about the grad school for $3,800? What's the interest on that?
That was just tuition, so it's leftover tuition, so there's no interest. Not a loan. It was money that I didn't get the scholarship because I didn't finish the school year. Well, then I ended up owing really $4,000, but they wanted me to pay $350 a month for a year, but I couldn't afford that. So I did it I think I paid one payment, and then I just was not able to.
Okay. So, I would still do, I guess the question is, do you go after paying more into the National Debt Relief Program, or do you go more towards paying off these smaller things first? I think I would keep on the track for the National Debt Relief Program with what you're paying $396 and do the doctor bill next, and then do the grad school, and then obviously you have student loans after that.
So for the student loans, I was in an income-driven program, and now they're in forbearance. But I actually decided I'm tired of looking at these. So I got into the standard program, and it starts in February. So the forbearance ends in February. So I started to have to put $400 to that as well.
Oh, yeah, $400. You guys start putting $400 out in February?
Yeah.
So that means we got a few months to knock down doctor bill so you can open that up because you got $400 more coming in. That means we're going to need more income and we're going to have to cut our expenses by February. I think that's a good proactive thing that you're doing is, hey, we need to start paying down these student loans, but it's going to make things really tight and going to be a little bit harder to pay stuff down faster, especially without more income. So income is going to be required for that. But I think it's good to not just, hey, close the door and forget about them forever and hope they disappear magically. That means, hey, paying out the doctor bill before February is going to help a lot with that extra $100.
I'm hoping to pay it off by December. Like, I'm basically, all my catering checks should be going towards debt at this point.
Good. I think the one thing great goal for you is you know what you're doing. You know what the plan needs to be. Now it's just a matter of, hey, can we cut down some of these different things and we throw enough debt at it? And continue to teach yourself, learn along the way. I mean, you know, whether it's Dave Ramsey, whether it's Ramit Sadie, whether it's Money with Katie. I mean, those are some of my favorite ones I listen to. But just continue to learn about personal finance, listen to podcasts, educate yourself, surround yourself with money, and that will help inspire you to make decisions and make smart decisions. And then just make sure you figure out ways to increase your income, continue to attack the debt, and keep learning. Because right now, it's going to take some time to start paying all this off. I mean, as a whole, because we have a lot of student loans too. And then once that's all paid off, you're going to have to start figuring out retirement. You have a couple of decades until then, but I mean, this is going to be a process with your current income level. It's going to take a couple of years to pay off all this debt before you can start really saving and investing heavily for retirement. And so that's why it's very important to start paying this down sooner than later, because if you don't change until you're 50, it's going to be a long way to get to a decent retirement age. By the time you're 60, with only a decade worth of time. And you said at the end of this, you want to set yourself up for success to do that. So I think you're taking the right steps about learning and starting to make some changes, but it's got to be a intense focus of the next few years so that you can start then saving and investing for retirement. Otherwise, you're going to wake up and not be in a good situation when you're 50 or 60 years old. So.
Got it.
What do you think your biggest financial mistake you've ever made, Dominique?
Trying to become a full-time teacher. Also, I wish that maybe I had not taken out student loans when I was an undergrad. I mean, I had a 4-year scholarship to all of the universities I was accepted to, but they didn't cover my room and board. None of them did. So I ended up taking like $7,000, $5,000, $6,000, and it just added up. But I just didn't think that was gonna. I wish I had attacked it. I wish that I had studied music education like my peers did. I studied music performance, but there's a part of me that's like, I wouldn't have had to try to get a master's degree if I had just studied music ed. And then I would have just taught for maybe 3 to 5 years right out of college and paid off my student loans. And then I would not have ended up in any of the other debt. I made mistakes, that's for sure. But my goal is to get out of debt by the time I'm 40. I'm turning 35 next month. So I have 5 years. I did the math. It's like if I pay $15,000 a year, I can get out of debt by 40.
Good. Well, I'm going to be cheering you on. I think you can do it. You're on your path. You've already started taking some action on it. Now it's just a matter of staying on that course and making sure that you can knock out of the park every single month moving forward. And you're going to have to figure out what are some things you said you already like, go for walks and find things that are fun outside that you can enjoy. Because it's not going to be going on a vacation every single year to Europe or somewhere in the United States. It's nice and luxurious. It's how can you do little fun things that keep you entertained, that you help you enjoy life, but don't cost a fortune amount of money, because that needs to be going towards this debt. If your goal is, hey, let's pay this off the next 5 years, because you're going to have to make some heavy debt payments to be able to do that. So what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone in a similar situation as you?
I would say if you are struggling to make the payments every month, maybe consider national debt relief. I know like a lot of people don't agree with these programs, so this might not be the best advice, but they have helped a lot. But there are risks in doing it because it lowers your credit score. My credit score, you were saying not to take out any more debt. I mean, I can't. My credit score is really poor. It's the poorest it's ever been. It will gradually go back up as I continue to pay on the debt. Also, you have to have that money in your account every month. If they're taking it out, you have to have it. So it is taking some discipline to be in this program. Like, it's not just a free ride. It's really hard to be in this program, but at the end of the day, they are doing their job. It's not a scam. It is legit, but it takes a lot of discipline to make sure that you got that money in your account every month.
I mean, that's just a point too. If you do have stuff in collections, you can try to negotiate some stuff yourself as well to cut stuff down. If you have stuff in collections, obviously you had to go the route of send yourself to collections to even be eligible for that, because people aren't going to negotiate when you have made payments every single month. So,
and also just getting a higher paying job if you can. It's not easy to do. Like, I feel like the only job I'm qualified to do is education, but it's not anything else. I've tried to be a bank teller. Like, I've tried to apply for anything that was full time, but the only thing I get interviewed for that's full time is teaching. And so I wish that I loved teaching. Like, I wish that I had a passion for it. Like, I wish that I could handle the stress of it. But it's not the children. I love the kids, but it's a lot more involved in being an educator than just dealing with the kids. And I didn't know that.
Well, thank you for being a teacher, because that is a underpaid and underappreciated job out here, and we need it. We need people to educate our youth and help them learn and grow. But I would agree, it's, if you're looking to make money, teaching is not the career path to go into. But that's not to say you're still young and you can still find other career paths. It definitely will be harder for you to change career paths than someone just coming out of college to make that decision. But I think you can still continue to try. It might be harder and might get a lot of no's, but I think one day if you keep trying, you can find your way out of teaching and find something maybe you enjoy more and that pays more. It won't be easy for you to per se, but hopefully it is possible, and hopefully you keep trying that so you find something that you do enjoy in life and can do for decades and decades, because I don't want you to live a life teaching for the rest of your life and not ever enjoy it. So,
Okay, thank you.
I got this update from Dominique, and I'm excited to share with you guys. My key takeaways were that I need to cut my food budget, increase my income, and get a support system. I started leaving my debit card at home. In October, I stayed under budget on groceries and spent $115 less on eating out than in September. I got another job singing at a church as a soprano substitute on Sundays. I work my full-time job and my part-time catering job consistently throughout the week. However, I've been trying to get a full-time job with a salary. I've gone on multiple interviews and I have another one on Wednesday morning. My current net worth is negative $77,178.08, which is better than when we last spoke. For the next 30 days, I hope to get a job of earning at least $50,000 a year and continue to work my part-time catering job. Since catering slows down from January until mid-March, I want to begin singing in the subway stations to earn extra money. Unfortunately, I received another doctor bill in the mail for $620. I also began paying back my graduate school for the $3,781. I began paying them $252 a month this month. I put more money in savings and I'm almost at $1,000 again. The next 90 days, I would like to have paid off both doctor bills, continue putting more money towards the National Debt Relief Program, and begin paying on my federal student loans as well. I'm on the right track, and I think that if I keep pushing and get out of debt by the time I am 40 years old. My 35th birthday is this week, so I have exactly 5 years to pay this off. Well, I'm excited that Dominique is continuing to make strides, continuing to cut her budget down and live under her means so she can throw more money at the debt. I'm excited to see where she's at in 6 to 12 months from now, and I'm going to be cheering on. Thanks for coming on here, Dominique, and sharing your story.